Hi, my name is Casper, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build a computer. It is pretty simple actually, and anyone can do it as long as they know what they're doing. Alright, let's get into it. The first part we're going to talk about is the motherboard. The motherboard is the computer's spine. It holds everything together and allows communication between the other components. As you can see, we have all these slots on the motherboard. The first slot we have here is the expansion slot, where graphics cards or video cards, as you could also call them, and similar components can be attached to. Then we have the RAM slots, where our RAM blocks would be attached to. And we have the power slot, where the power supply would be connected to, so it can provide and distribute power throughout the motherboard. And then most importantly, we have the CPU slot, where the CPU is inserted. The CPU is the brain of the computer, and as the name suggests, it processes the instructions from the software. The instructions are given from the input devices such as keyboard and mice, and then we have output devices that displays the result of the processing such as monitors and speakers. The CPU cooler draws heat away from the CPU and the other components. It also makes the system more stable and efficient, but also generates a lot of noise. When we connect the CPU cooler, we also have to apply some thermal paste, and that is to allow the CPU to get the heat out so that the cooler can draw it away. The word RAM stands for Random Access Memory. RAM stores running programs and their data. Unlike the hard drive, RAM doesn't keep data stored when the PC turns off, as it is not permanent storage like the hard drive is. The graphics card, also known as the video card, generates a feed of output images to your monitor or whatever display you have connected to the PC. While your computer is running, it produces a lot of heat, so it's necessary to have a cooler that can remove all the heat and keep the components at operating temperatures. The power supply is the electrical device that powers the PC. It converts AC power to DC power in the exact voltage your computer needs, and that power is then supplied to an electric load. The hard drive is where the data on the computer is stored. This is a HDD drive, and it is still relevant, but today we primarily use SSD drives that are faster and usually have more storage. DVD drives are what we use to read physical discs on the computer. It allows us to play movies on our computer and basically install and play video games on the computer, and whatever else we would need to use discs for. They are slowly becoming irrelevant as digital media is taking over, especially in the computer world. Alright, so the first component we have inserted here is the motherboard, obviously, because it's a spine, so it's the first thing that goes in. So, as you can see, we have it screwed in, and then we have the ports that stick out so we can connect external devices to it and stuff like that. So as you can see here, we have the CPU, and before I insert it, I just wanted to mention that you want to make sure to put it in carefully, and you want to make sure not to bend any of these pegs here you have here. That is very important, because if any of those bend, then it's gonna break and it's not gonna work. So just something I would just mention real quick. Alright, the CPU is inserted. Not that difficult, just make sure not to force it down at all, because that could break it. So that is all there is to it. Now we have to attach the CPU cooler, but before we do that, we of course have to apply thermal paste. As I have done here, as you can see, I have applied a dot of thermal paste in the middle of the CPU, almost. So what you want to do is you want to press the CPU cooler down gently and just let the thermal paste spread out. But one thing I would recommend you do is, if you have a transparent glass of any sort, you can use that to press it down so you can see how the paste spreads, because you don't want it to spread over the CPU, because then when you start up your PC it can either freeze or crash, maybe both, and that's not good. So you want to make sure that it doesn't spread over the CPU, and to make sure you've applied the right amount, to make sure it doesn't, you can use a transparent glass. So that's just a little disclaimer there. And now the CPU has been attached. So as you can see, the graphics card has been inserted now. You can see in this expansion slot right here. And you can see it's screwed in place here. So now we've got these ports sticking out here, so you can connect the monitor to the PC now. Alright, so the RAM has been inserted now. One thing you gotta remember is to not apply too much force when you insert it, when you attach the RAM, as it can. Well, you shouldn't do that, but that's not that difficult. As long as the RAM is inserted the right way, then it shall be good. Alright, so the power supply has been connected. As you can see, it's connected to the motherboard. Also, right over here, right behind here, you can't see it, but it's also the cable connected down there. So as you can see, we also have all these cables here that needs to be connected to the other components. One thing I forgot to mention though is these black cables here. As you can see, they also need to be connected to the motherboard. Those I just completely forgot about, but they basically make sure that the audio and everything works, the power button and everything. So yeah, alright, here we have the hard drive inserted, screw it in, and it's connected with the SATA cable, connected to, or it's supposed to be connected to, the power supply. I gotta fix that in a moment, hold on. Yes, and that is fixed now. So now we only need the last part. So here we have the cooler screwed in and connected to the motherboard. So that is basically it now. All we gotta do is just put this on. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Not very in-depth, not very detailed, but I hope you get the gist of how to build a PC. Again, it's not rocket science, pretty easy, and anyone can do it, literally. I mean, you don't even need to know what the individual part does, you just need to know where it's supposed to fit. And again, that's easy to figure out. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see ya.